Hey, it's Lori Painter, and today is day 3 of my inspirational video series where I'm sharing with you the tools, the stories, the resources that I was able to experience that lifted me up, and perhaps they may be of benefit to you. I know that inspiration, everybody always wants to feel good, wants to be on top of their game, feeling unstoppable and untoppable, but that is just like a muscle. It's a daily practice, and the more you practice lifting that muscle of inspiration, the stronger that it gets and the more capable that it gets. So I'm doing daily little videos that may be insightful and impactful for you. I know that these stories have absolutely changed the way that I've lived my life, and now I'm sharing them with you. Okay, so today is all about the work of Dr. Emoto and messages from water. And what his work is all about is he found that if you have an intention, which is non-physical, can it have a physical outcome? And he did this experiment on water. So he would take water molecules, he would distill the water so everything started out the same. And then on some of the water, he would put things like, I love you, I hate you, you fool, I want to kill you. All of these either love and gratitude, either positive or negative messages. And then what he would do is put it underneath the microscope and capture a photograph of them to see how the molecules of water changed. And if you don't know this work, I highly suggest you go and check it out, because the understanding and the ideas about this, and you can see this also talked about in What the Bleep Do We Know? I think that's the first time I ever heard about it. But I actually did this experiment. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a second. But what he found, well, what the whole purpose was, or maybe this wasn't his purpose, but maybe it's something that I was inspired by when I had heard, is that the idea is that our bodies are made up over, 70% of water. And if we're having thoughts, which are, whether they're conscious or unconscious, running through our brain, how is that affecting our bodies, our physiology, all of the water within us? What kind of an impact is that having? So my children, when I had learned about this is probably, I don't know what year this was, but I know that I did the experiment before I was actually able to meet Dr. Emoto, which I was so thankful to be able to meet him in Los Angeles at an alchemy conference. I think it was back in 2008 or 2009. And he's Japanese, and he had talked about how singing and karaoke would literally change the water molecules. And they've actually, if you go and YouTube this, water underneath a microscope while music is playing, whether it's rock and roll or classical, you can actually watch and see how that changes. So the whole purpose, the whole reason that I'm sharing this with you is because my children and I did the experiment and it's called the rice experiment. And you can look and see it on YouTube and on Google it, and it's all over the place. But it's where, and I did it a little bit different than the way some of them do it, and I'll explain to you how I did it. But the whole point is, does an intention, can it have a physical outcome without doing anything physically? So what I did is I took 3 jars. One jar I filled up with 1/4 of cooked white rice and 3/4 of water. And I did that in 3 jars. And then my children and I rewrote on one jar, I love you, all in our own handwriting, I love you, I love you, I love you. And on another jar, we wrote, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And on another jar, we just completely neglected and ignored. And so I wanted to put it in a place where everybody would see it. So I put it in front of the kitchen sink because we're always in the kitchen making food. So I had I love you, and then in the middle was the ignore one, and then I hate you. So they were all spread a certain amount apart. And over the course of time, you wouldn't believe it if you didn't do it yourself. But the one that we said, I hate you to, first of all, it started feeling horrible to say it because you had to feel the feelings of hate. You had to really embody it. But all of the grains of rice started to like disintegrate, get moldy, get clumpy, get the water turned dark and dirty. And it was just, it looked like a cancer tumor. And then the one that we said, I love you to, all of the grains of rice were still perfectly intact and totally defined. The water was crystal clear. And even at a certain point, the rice lifted to the top. And what I came up with was that love had literally uplifted the rice. I don't know if I thought I was crazy, but this had gone on for, I think we had done it for a few months. And every time people came over, I was sharing with them how insightful this was and how important our inner dialogue that we had with ourselves and also with others, how that could really impact us. And some people teased me, like my brother came over and said, oh, you just had a moldy jar that you put it in. So I said, fine, well, we'll do it again. We did it multiple times and got the same results every single time. And that there was one day, I will tell you, where as a mother, be careful what you teach your children because it comes back on you, but in the best way, especially if you teach them good stuff. But one day I'd asked my son to wash the dishes, and he hadn't done it, and the day had gone by, and I reminded him again, to do the dishes, and he still hadn't done it. And finally, okay, my patience had run thin, and I used a strong tone. I'm like, Alex, how many times do I need to ask you to do the dishes? And he came up to me very quietly, very calmly, and showed me the 3 jars. And he said, and he pointed to the I hate you jar, and he goes, is this what you want to do to you and to me? And that just, it hit me in my heart and in my soul because that is the last thing I wanted to do. So we kept those out as a source of inspiration to be mindful of our energy, to have that loving energy rather than that I hate you energy. Not only did it bring just more peace in the home, but I genuinely feel that it absolutely changes the water, the cells, the blood in our bodies that bathes and nourishes us. It changes us as well. And I'll go more into that in another video. But if you have not checked out Dr. Emoto and his work, Messages from Water, I highly, highly would love to inspire you to do so. And be a pessimist if you want, and go ahead and do the experiments yourself and see what shows up for you. I don't want you to take anything that I say as something that you don't question and verify yourself. So go have a good time with that, and I will be back with you again tomorrow, sharing with you another tool and resource that has inspired me. Until then, bye-bye.